Yeah, I'm glad we were able to put this together, and I'm really looking forward to learning about all of this stuff you've been doing. It's really an exciting life, an adventuresome life that you've led. But, and I wanted to learn about it. We got some of your lighting, I see. And welcome. Welcome very much to Conversations. Pleasure to welcome to the program Jerome Johnson.
How do you doing?
Good to meet you again, to say hello. And he's we're going to learn from him, but he's a solar, a pioneer solar energy person. He's also been involved, as I understand, in lighting. And you can see we have some of that example of his good use and knowledge of lighting and other matters in terms of solar energy. And Jerome, welcome. Really, very much to MNN. Share with me, please, your background, born and raised a little bit, and as a way to wade in. And you've had this interesting, you photographed you've done lighting for things at the White House. A very interesting life, because you sort of begin to born and raised, a little education, and then we'll talk about your life story and include a lot of these things you've been involved with.
Well, I mean, I was a Brooklyn-born youngster. Had a dad who was very concerned about being blunt and honest.
Okay.
And as a policeman, he taught me that you don't lie to him, because he has to pay attention constantly to the people on the street in order to psych them out as to whether they're being honest or not. He wasn't going to put up with any child in his home lying. And so I learned from an early age, you don't make your mouth move until your brain's working.
Okay, that's probably an important lesson. Yeah,
well,
okay.
It was for me.
Yeah, okay.
I went into the military. I was an aerial photographer in a fighter squadron.
Wow.
In turn, had my first child, and in order to take pictures of a baby that was constantly crawling out of the picture area, I realized that the lighting that was existing was no good, and I got the idea of taking the umbrella that was in the house, and I took aluminum foil and slipped it under the ribs, and I used tape to hold it onto a stand. And when the pictures started to look so marvelous, my clients, because I was in the photographic industry.
This is after you're out of the military?
Well, at the same time, because I was on reserve status.
What was that, Korea time or what?
Yeah, I was activated for it.
Were you drafted in that?
Yeah.
Me too. I was done the same thing. Did you like the military?
Yeah.
You did?
Because I enjoy having people honest and upfront.
Honest and upfront and paying attention to structure and things?
Well, you end up having people that are honest.
Yeah, honest. What do you mean by honest? What do you mean? You mean...
Don't BS. It's as simple as that.
Don't BS. Okay.
Tell your story.
Okay.
And in turn, hopefully, you're sincere, therefore people can trust you.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And in the military, you need trust.
Yeah.
You're not, in the civilian world where you got politicians and lawyers.
Nuance, psychological things and everything. I was terrible. I was a buck private, and I used to try and explain to the sergeants that we could do things more democratically, and they didn't want to hear it, if I remember well. But I didn't fit in the military at all.
That's the advantage to being a photographer in the military.
That's right. You're one step removed, I think.
I was a guest at any particular officers' club
They wanted to see you. You might get in Stars and Stripes.
They wanted to take pictures.
Sure, right. So, what did you use? What cameras were you using? A Hasselblad?
At that time, we had the Speed Graphic, and I got in a lot of trouble because I used a Fairchild K20, which is an aerial camera, to photograph the fellows when they were playing baseball.
And that wasn't supposed to be done?
Oh, no. Every camera has a purpose.
I guess
God help you if you do something that's breaking the pattern.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. That's okay. Yeah.
The pictures were fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's why the people in charge weren't very happy. They wanted to be the ones taking the fantastic pictures.
They wanted to be the picture takers themselves. Yeah.
And
who we got? Stiglitz was great, photographer.
Oh yeah.
And Parks.
Well,
he just passed.
I had Gordon Parks was a client.
Yeah.
He was a client of mine. Avedon was a client of mine.
Wow.
Philip Halsman was a client of mine. I was the man that went into a world that nobody had been in before I went into it.
And that being lighting and the lighting.
Electronic flash.
Electronic flash.
The strobe units.
Yeah, right.
They were developed for wingtip aircraft.
Really?
And evolved into lighting that a B-25 would illuminate the ground from up above so that they could end up photographing the areas where the planes would go in the daytime to bomb.
So they could do that at nighttime, reconnaissance flights?
Well, that's what they couldn't do
They
before.
could not, right,
and when they developed the electronic flash, then the planes could move in, and the electronic flash being so instantaneous.
It's not infrared or something?
No.
No, okay, yeah.
But the light was so instantaneous, 1/10,000th of a second.
Wow,
they didn't have
1/10,000th of a second?
You didn't have to worry about blur.
And completely linked to the shutter?
The shutter was literally open.
Oh, it was, okay.
And the camera electronic flash, the synchronization was the pulsing of the flash, so they could actually take pictures of the ground from above that was a montage.
Amazing. Yeah. I used to use some of those when I did.
That was the work in the Navy that I was doing.
You were doing that then. Yeah. I can remember I did some research down in Bolivia, and they had stereoscopic things where you could see it three-dimensional. They had the two set. It was fantastic, the things that are happening in photography. So you were linked into the photography realm as well as lighting. Yeah.
Dr. Edgerton had developed the pulse Xeon, which was the arc in a sealed container, and it evolved. What's so fascinating is that when years later the ordinary incandescent bulb, which is nothing but a filament in a large globe, would have electricity going through it, it would end up emitting light, and the bulb would blacken in time and burn out. And then in the 50s, Sylvania Electric developed the iodine concept, where instead of the bulb being large, it would be small like a cigarette, and they would put a crystal of iodine inside the globe, which would then, the molecules would end up constantly cleaning the wall of the glass as the filament was burning away.
No kidding, really.
So it was like cleaning itself.
Yeah, right.
Once that happened, that's what's in these units.
Now I'm looking at these two units here. I don't know if they can get them on a far shot or something, but these are umbrellas with the aluminum reflective and everything, and these are the units you would use in your photography.
Well, I developed the metallization process on the film so that the film in turn could then be laminated to other materials, and the whole concept was to develop large metal reflectors that were foldable, and the idea was it's evolving. Nothing happens like that.
Yeah, right. No, I know. Yeah.
So once we had the idea of using an umbrella frame, then we had frames made to order, because we had these 8 feet in size.
8 feet. These are about 4.
These are the little 32 inches.
Yeah, right. I can see that. And you invented that, as you say? You got that patented?
I have the patents.
You do have the patents on that.
The numbers are somewhere written down.
Where's your limousine? You must have a huge bank account.
No, you don't end up becoming... If you get patents in our society, the brain is always exploited by the money.
Okay. Is that a dictum, huh? The brain, if you got that term trademarked, the brain is always exploited by the money, right?
Because the people who have money...
Rings true to me somehow. Yeah.
Very easily have nothing else but to figure out how they can make more money. And if they see a product on the market, they very easily will say, why don't we see how much that's going to be making in production? And as it gets more and more successful, that's when they realize it is the kind of a thing to develop.
Yeah, but isn't the patent supposed to protect the rights of the inventor? Isn't that what it's supposed to do?
No.
Is that idealistic and not true?
The patent really says that you have created something that's special.
Yes, okay.
Now you've got to fight.
But don't you have a period where only you can market it or something? Or how does that work from the inventor's
You can do whatever you like and copy whatever you like.
Okay.
And then you end up getting your warriors to fight and protect you. And the warriors are getting like 100, 500 a minute.
Those are lawyers.
Those are lawyers.
Yeah, the lawyers.
So
My
if
daddy
you got
was
lawyers
a lawyer.
Here and lawyers there fighting,
Yeah.
they are getting paid whether they win or not.
Well, congratulations on the invention.
Well,
Mr. Edison took care of himself that way, didn't he? Covered his background.
He was a businessman.
Sometimes it worked, the patent system.
Well, you got to be a businessman.
You got to be as well as an inventor.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you're saying in a sense? Yeah.
Most inventors do things in their garage. I fortunately already had a corporation that was formed, but we didn't think of what we were doing as inventions.
No, or as inventions, it
All
was
we
what?
were doing
What
was
were you?
solving problems for photographers, movie makers.
You were actually doing work.
We were actually building the problems.
That it seems to me that thing applies to a lot of things in the arts as well. You know, I mean, in most of the goods of civilization and so forth, it's the money guys who finally end up exploiting it and making the money from the people who have made the. Somebody said, was it Pond who said the artists are the antenna of the race? You're like an artist, or you're in the artistic realm.
Well, that was the whole world I was in.
Yeah, right.
I was bridging a chasm between my creative areas in photography and taking pictures.
Right.
And the designing and building for the photographer what he would say would solve his problem. So I would spend time listening.
Right.
And when you have a man like, give an example, Haskell Wexler in England is going crazy because the lighting on that scene is screwed up, and he's on the transatlantic yelling at me, and I'm saying, will you do me a favor? Would you give me your either gaffer, your electrician, or your lighting director, so that we can talk? I think I can solve your problem, but I can't do it if I'm being yelled at.
Yeah, right, okay.
Well, obviously, I never thought of these people as being godly.
No.
They were people like me. They had a problem, and I had a problem.
Right.
I was getting paid to help them with their problem.
Right, okay.
So I got on the phone with the
Gaffer,
electrician, told him what to do this, do this, do that. Oh, it's working. Good.
So you get, right.
So obviously, he says, should I tell Wexler? I said, no, just tell him it's working. And
Just do it. Yeah, right. Well, that's good if you have that kind of people in your corner. If you're,
well, when you get angry at them,
what
you throw them out of the office.
What was Wexler's role in that process?
He was the producer.
Okay, and his role was that a producer or a director. Lighting is really important in film and in certainly photography and all that sort of thing. It's really important, and there are new developments all the time. I saw a thing on television, if I may, I saw a thing on television, a nature thing, knocked me out. The things they can do with nature. And they had, like in video, you have 30 frames a second in terms of video. They've developed a camera 4,000 frames a second.
Yeah.
How in the world can they do that?
Because electronically, you can make a pulse do anything you want.
They showed a picture of a bird doing a dance, and you could get it in such beautiful detail of what's really going on. You know. So there's advances coming all the time. Yeah.
The advance always is from a point that was a reference point.
That's true, yeah.
Dr. Edgerton created the light, which was called electronic flash.
Okay.
And he pulsed it so that birds could be actually, hummingbirds, stopped in dead air.
Right,
He could photograph a bullet coming out of the muzzle of a gun, and you actually could see the bullet.
Yeah, I remember that. How the hell did you do that?
The light became the shutter.
The light became the shutter. That sounds like that air photography thing you were talking about.
But that's where it's all coming from. I'm hoping that I can merely create a foundation for the way things are created. Yeah. Because I'm no brilliant individual, but I pay a lot of attention to people. And when they have a problem, my whole function was to make a living. Okay. And if you're going to make a living because you're God gifted with the ability to design and build things with circuitry and mechanically, so the light evolved to the umbrella. And when a John Fletcher from National Geographic came back from the Himalayas, Mount Everest, he had taken equipment that I outfitted him with.
Good for you, thank you.
Well, those were the clients I had. I didn't deal with amateurs.
I
had only professional
clients. You only professional photographers in that. Like, there's a big difference between that. Okay, and they have special, like say in the case of the Himalaya, your high thing. You need special lighting in order to get the full effect. Because National Geographic puts out absolutely gorgeous photographs.
No, the only problem that National Geographic had was lighting equipment that would work under freezing conditions.
It's going to be freezing up that mountain.
And my answer was, if you're lucky you got your camera working, stop worrying about the lights. We're going to end up using the sunlight, and we'll use it to open up the shadows. So he ended up with 2 of these umbrellas.
That could fold up, put in the backpack.
Lightweight.
Yeah. Right, lightweight. And yeah, that's a consideration.
The end of that story is when he came back, he said, I've got another $1 million problem. Get the paper out and the pencil, and let's make a contract.
What was the problem?
The problem was that they were on the top of the mountain, the canisters emptied of fuel, and they weren't going to be able to have their afternoon tea.
Well, how in the hell can you get along on the Himalaya mountain without some tea?
I don't know. Well,
I don't know. I don't think it's possible.
I only know the story you told me. The Sherpa went and said to John, why don't you put the umbrella and bounce the sunlight onto the pot? And
that sounds like a good idea to me. Use solar energy to make tea.
And that's what they did.
They did do that.
Yeah.
Had you done that? Had you given them the clue to how to do that? Because I know you're really involved with that.
He came and gave me the idea. And then what you're looking at over there is what was originally
Can we get a shot of it with the camera?
That's the solar food cooker.
That's this thing right here. If you can come to, can you bring the camera? I guess you can see it. It's over here. This is a solar cooker.
Right.
Now this is a really important development in terms of the planet.
That was in
There you go. Beautiful. Okay.
1958 or 61 or 62. I don't remember. Numbers don't stay with me.
Oh, they don't?
But it was around then that he came back and sat down, and we had some coffee, and we were talking, and it took me about 6 months to develop this unit. As you can see, it's a different curvature.
Yeah, let's show it again if we can, if you got a shot of this.
The surface is not embossed, but very shiny.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at those, that's got a lot of little bumps in it.
Yes,
that
it does.
was designed to scatter the light.
Okay.
This was designed to focus the light.
That's interesting, because this is for photography and this is for concentrating heat, right? Like a magnifying glass that does that too.
Right.
But this is so. When was this idea that they could take a device like this, which has really got important application to the whole world now, and use it to concentrate the sunlight to a place where it could actually do a task like cooking? I mean, when did that idea first appear, and what's been your role?
When this was invented.
Well, so that's in the 50s.
In the 50s.
So if you were around in the 1930s, they wouldn't have even thought of the idea of concentrating sunlight to cook?
I don't know how they would do it then, but I know when I ended up developing it, my friends that came to my wedding were from Bombay. His parents were very, very wealthy in the movie industry. And so I went and I shipped one of these over to Sashi Patel. And about 3 or 4 months later, he wrote me back and indicated that his dad had given the prototype of what I made to his salesman.
Right.
And the story was that in order for it to function on a full-time basis, the woman would have to constantly move it to follow the sun. And they didn't want to be bothered doing that. I mean, it's easy to put...
Yeah, but the sun, is it really, you have to move it?
The sun tracks.
Of course it does. I know that, but it's pretty slow. I mean, you know.
No, over the course of a day, it from morning to sunset is about, let's say, 8 hours.
Yeah.
So if you can only get the sun for, let's say, 4 hours, that may not be enough time for cooking.
About the fellas stuck up on Mount McKinley, I was stuck once on Mount McKinley, Mount Everest, let's say, and they had to get a cup of tea. Twining's tea or something like they did. How long would it take them to use a solar thing like this to get the water to where it will brew tea?
About a half hour, 3/4 hour.
Half hour to make 1 cup of tea?
No, it'll make a whole pot.
A whole pot of tea in a half an hour from the sunlight from one of these things like that.
This thing, you put your hand in front of it, you'll burn your hand like that.
Are you kidding?
No,
really?
I'm not kidding. That's why I have fun when I have people over at the solar house. I'll bring that out in the sunlight, and we'll end up telling the people, put your hand at the end of the shaft, and then I'll move it around until the sunlight is focused, and they pull their hand back, like, what are you doing to me?
You have
and
fun.
I laugh. I think
yeah,
it's
you
very
get a laugh out of other people's travail. Is that part of your personality makeup and everything?
No, I think it's important.
That sounds like a trickster or a prankster. Or
no, because I'm not allowed.
But you were honest. You wanted to be on. Oh, I see.
People don't end up believing the truth.
No. Another great statement. Do you have it? Do you have it trademarked? I want to know. No. People do not believe. What is it?
They don't believe the truth.
People don't believe the truth. Is that trademarked in your name or something like? Can I use it? Can I use that in my as I make new conversation?
Yes, of course.
The people don't believe the truth. That's like something like all the news is fit to print or something like that. Yeah, it could be utilized in terms of the world in which we live now. You seem to distrust some of the lack of honesty on the part of people from your early training.
What I would like to pick up on with that remark, which just came out of my mind, and I want to do it off camera, but I'm going to open the door to the story.
Okay.
The solar energy house.
Okay, well, we haven't come up directly to that, but okay, go ahead, talk.
The solar energy house in 1979 opened up in order to take and show people that with their own ability and skill, they can make their homes more energy efficient. And in turn, since my world came from the solar food cooker, the idea was I already had a tremendous quantity of knowledge about solar energy, and I was going to end up carrying that knowledge into a building so that houses could be using the sun.
Wonderful. I mean, that's very much on the world agenda now, don't you think?
Well, we're back again.
Yeah, back again from where we were when? When were we back where we are?
In the 70s and 80s, the world was very much involved with solar energy.
Was that because of the crisis of 73? Of oil. Yeah. See, as soon as the price of cheap fossil fuel goes up, then they get interested in these things. But then when it goes up, then when it goes down, then they lose the interest because they can drive around in SUVs and everything. Yeah. But now it's coming back again, you think, right?
Yeah, except that everything we did on the building, I'm now 25 years later, up to my butt with legal problems because I broke laws.
You weren't honest?
What do you mean? I was doing what I thought was okay.
Oh, you broke law. Oh, you broke conventions.
I was breaking
or you broke the bonds of Earth or something.
But if you are doing something on your building, and you are now using your building, your money, your gut instinct to invent and build, and then the government comes 25 years later and says, did you have a permit for that?
Hey, zoning boards and things like that, you know?
Well, guess what? I was in this
I represent
world.
the zoning board and the local fuel supplying company. Yeah, okay.
I helped write part of the law on solar energy. That's where I was at that period.
In the late 70s,
The state of New York had me working for them.
Okay.
Then I was assigned to the City of New York Energy Department. Then the New York State Research and Development had given me grants for work. So here I am 25 years later, a whole different world. I'm an old man, and they want to talk about photovoltaics. Money. You got to have millions of $70,000 to put enough photovoltaics on your roof so you can end up having an ordinary house with enough electricity that normally would be, let's say, 150 amp service.
Mr. Lovins, Hunter, and what's his name, Lovins, they have a house where they got all that stuff done. There's so much being.
Well,
there's so
the Lovins out
the
in
Lovins
Denver.
family, out in Denver. I mean, they just do it and everything. And you've said so much and all that.
These are the people that we used to sit around at conventions and be in front of an audience talking.
Talking about solar energy,
These were the people. I'm one of the old men, like he is.
Well, okay.
We're all the same age.
Yeah. And there was interest in that. Were you ever cognizant of Bucky Fuller or not? Yeah, he was my hero.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but philosophically. I was interested in him philosophically. No. He was something else. He
invented... met that man in person. He ended up on a napkin, boom, 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 boom. He would give me ideas, and then I made living doing it.
Right. No, I know that. But so much you've come up with. You just got off the photography and so forth. And now, when did you get to where you were developing? First of all, the solar cooker is an incredibly important thing, is it not?
For today it is.
It is, yeah. Has the technology improved to where it can be over what you did in those years and so forth? And what do you see as the future of that to alleviate or improve the human condition, particularly for some of the least advantaged people of the world?
Well, I'll be candid with you. I ended up, when I was at the United Nations in '97, talking to the audience, I was trying to influence them that the women in the little villages who are making the baskets could very well make with the straw large parabolas
Yeah.
that would be large baskets.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
You're weaving it.
Yeah, okay,
So why
yeah,
not
yes,
weave?
right.
Weave a basket that's big.
Right. A basket, not an umbrella.
No, an umbrella closes.
Okay. Well, I mean, umbrella.
It's going to be.
This isn't. I don't think of
that's
this
called
as
a parabola.
basket. Parabola.
You're
thank
looking
you.
at
Yeah.
an umbrella, but the
Right.
shape is a parabola.
And I associate that with concentrating energy
Right.
easily.
So it's
yeah.
a parabola
Yeah.
that concentrates.
Not a basket.
If the basket is what we call a device if it's made out of reed.
Uh-huh.
But if you make a basket that is of a parabolic shape,
Yes.
since they have the material to work with, which is reed, they don't have umbrella frames, and they don't have this material, this metallized satellite skin.
Right. That's an important new material.
Yeah, the satellite skin I developed way back in the 50s.
You
That's
did
what
it
I
yourself.
developed.
You did it yourself with your
No,
friends?
I have companies that you paid.
Yeah, but you got the idea of doing it and developed
Well,
it.
it took about 4 or 5 years to finally get it to
Congratulations.
that
That's
point.
really important stuff.
It's
That's
called
what
evolution.
Yeah, thank you. And that's also good design. And that's
Well,
a sense of
when you've got a
design
client-
revolution. Yeah.
Clients were my research people. The photographer would buy something,
Yeah.
would use it. He
Yeah.
would then come back because of our relationship.
Yeah.
I wasn't dealing through dealers. I wasn't dealing through distributors. When a man got involved with me, like Sammy Davis.
Yeah. The entertainer?
Yeah, I mean,
You knew him?
he was a photographer.
He was. Okay, I didn't know that. He was a giant
And so
entertainer. Yeah, great.
I didn't see him as Sammy Davis, the actor.
Yeah.
He was Sammy Davis, and we were talking about the problem.
Yeah, you want to solve a problem. That would be, you'd get along with Fuller then, I think. You know, he was a real
But that's
hands-on.
how people are in the field
Yeah.
when you're professionally involved.
Yeah.
You don't see them as icons, or you see them as a man or a woman, and you're trying to end up listening to them and giving them suggestions.
And
they're
solving
saying,
problems through design.
Well, you pay
Yeah.
enough attention to them that you come up, hopefully, with a design.
Right. Well, that's an inventor's state of mind.
Well, that's what my whole company did.
You're an inventor.
The company I had was called Photo Electronic Research. It was
Okay.
at 141 West 42nd. It was right off
141,
Broadway
right off
on
Broadway,
42nd.
right into Times Square.
Yeah, we used to, on New Year's Eve, we would have the whole gang of people come in. We'd have the windows, because they were pivoting windows, and everybody would be looking out the window and throwing confetti out the window and everything
sure.
else.
They did that. And have you got much of your life on film? They could have been making a film of your life. It'd be it would be an
those
Academy
days-
Award winner if they'd
those
been able to
days,
capture those
I didn't
things.
get in front of a camera.
You did not.
I was
Why? You were shy.
shy. No,
Not shy.
nobody ever
Apparently
said.
not shy.
Nobody said.
Not shy.
Let's photograph you.
Yeah,
I
let's
was
see.
always working to solve the problem.
Oh, yeah, but somebody could have been photographing you.
Well, if they
you know.
did, I didn't know about
It's
it.
easier and easier now. You get a little thing and like this has got high definition. The palm of your hand, you can record everything. That's a good advance. That kind of thing is going. But there's so much that you're involved with that, and that solar thing is really, really important. And then you bring it up in conversation about the solar house.
Well, that's what called
It led
evolution.
from this. It led to the solar house, right?
Friends of mine
Yeah.
knew of my background in solar.
Right.
When Carter became then the president talking about solar energy, everybody, oh, I know somebody that's involved in that world.
Yeah, right.
So you talk with them. You go out
Right.
for drinks, you're having coffee. Why don't you do something? I said, look, I got enough things I'm doing.
Right.
Why don't you get involved? You make the phone call, and if they're interested, then I'll end up keeping the appointment. You know, you set the appointment.
That's you talking to somebody else
Yeah.
who's talking about doing it, and you're going to set you up
eventually-
with somebody.
Eventually, what happens is people do end up doing that. And then it's, I want you to meet Mr. So-and-so. We got the appointment set up for lunch, and you meet with them.
So when you meet with them and you're over lunch and everything, you get along well with everybody because you're not kowtowing to them or anything. You're just getting along like human beings who have a problem.
because you still
you
have
always
the
get
same-
along well with. You have what they call social skills.
I don't think I do. I'm very outspoken. I'm a very outspoken
Well, yeah,
man.
but okay. Well,
And we don't have a society that likes outspoken
they
people.
don't like outspoken or honest.
No,
Yeah. Okay.
no.
Okay. Well, you're talking.
Because you're hurting people's feelings when you don't go along with what they say.
Well, okay, but I bet you, I'll bet you get along well with. You're getting okay along with me now.
Well, hopefully I
But I'm
will.
a nice guy, you know. And
You know, hopefully. The point that I'm making is I've had clients, I'm
Yeah.
talking about very important people
Yes,
that would
okay.
end up coming in with the attitude of
Like this.
I gotta
No,
have
they
you.
snap their
yeah.
finger.
And I say, look,
Hey,
do
jump,
me a favor.
jump, yeah,
do
yeah.
me a favor.
Yeah, yeah.
Go in the office, there's a coffee pot,
Yeah.
there's gin, and maybe vodka. Pour me a drink, pour yourself a drink, come in the workshop, watch me, but keep your mouth shut until I finish what I'm doing. And they look at you like, huh? But they would
Don't you know who I am?
But you see, while you're telling them to go into your office to take the drink, you mellow them out. Because they're going to get a free drink.
Yeah, right, okay.
So they're sipping on their drink, and you're sipping on yours while you're working.
Did you imbibe heavily when you were at work? I don't mean to pry. I don't mean to bring that. You don't have to admit that.
The only time I would drink is if I had a crazy guy coming in and I had to calm him down.
A lot of crazy guys in the world could drive you to drink. You know, they could do, yeah.
I'm lucky that the clients I had, and some of the most beautiful human beings, when I would have to deliver equipment or repair, Philip Holzman, he was the world's 100 Life magazine covers.
No, what do you mean? Did have photographs of?
He photographed key people for Life magazine. He had over 100 covers.
Wow, that's incredible. That must be some sort of a record.
Well, I don't know what the record is. I only know that whenever he would call me up with his very heavy French accent, he would say, you do me a favor, you take care of your customers, and when you lock the door, 6 o'clock, 6:30, you come. You call me first. And so I would get the little box with all the tools in it, the electronics.
The electronics or lighting? Lighting.
I was repairing electronic lighting equipment.
Okay, because you knew lighting.
It was the electronic lighting that I had to repair. Ordinary light, though.
And he used that in his photographs for Life magazine, do you think, or not?
The equipment that he had would break down.
Yeah, so he'd come and
so he would call me up to come over to the studio and fix it.
But he used that lighting that you made visible to him in order to make photographs of 100 of which might have been on the cover of Life.
It was the electronic flash.
Yeah, the electronic flash.
There's a very famous picture of Marilyn Monroe that was jumping up in the air, and he froze the picture of her as she was with a big smile.
I just aired a program a little while ago with the Magnum Photo people. You know, Magnum Photo? They got great. You know that famous one with Kappa, is it? Is it? Where the guy in the Spanish Civil War and they captured. You know, that thing's going to live forever. They got the images and everything. He was great.
The Iwo Jima pictures.
And his photography is a great thing. Now it's going into videography and everything like that. But I want to get back, if I can, to the solar house. You talked about passive solar, and then there's photovoltaic. There's different things. Have you become involved in the understanding of solar energy and its application on a practical scale?
Well,
and
I've
where
got
does
the whole
it stand?
house. I took the house as a laboratory because no one lived in the building.
This was just a house where?
East Flatbush.
East Flatbush. Okay, you had a house.
436 East 53rd Street.
You took it? It was your house?
It was my home, but in a divorce, my wife had occupancy with the children to bring up.
Yeah.
And I was in Westchester going back to college at that point.
What were you
79.
studying? What were you studying?
I was just taking more courses to interact with people.
You're interested in a lot of different things.
I took a course in dance.
What, dance?
Yeah.
You mean like the tango and
creative,
stuff?
No, creative dance.
Creative dance, I see, okay.
You met a lot of girls that way.
Well, that's true, you could do that.
You know,
yeah, right, there are a lot of girls in the world.
45 and divorced, I had to try to figure out where my life was going.
Kicking up your heels a
So I
little
went
bit.
back to college because I had a girlfriend that said, go back to college. You don't have to be an engineer anymore, be something else.
What's wrong with being an engineer and an inventor? I think that's a very exciting
No, I had
life.
already 25, 30 years of that. And
but did you enjoy it? Were they 25 happy years of creative discovery? It's great when you discover something and make it work. So few people ever are able to do that and have it work.
Try to.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but understand.
Yeah.
Understand this little key.
Okay.
You create an item.
Yeah.
And you get paid for it. What you have created is now solving someone else's problem that may be $1 million problem. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't say, I'm going to give you a little bit of that money, because they already paid you for what you were doing.
Yeah, right, yeah. Wage slave, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now somebody else comes along and copies it. Now you got to make a decision. Are you going to start litigation?
You need a battery of lawyers for that. If they've got a battery of lawyers, you're up against the big boys, and you don't have much of a chance, and the people never have throughout most all of history.
This is called reflecto.
Right, reflecto, the material, right?
Another company came out 7 or 8 years after this was on the market, and they called theirs reflect the soul.
Uh-huh.
They put an S-O in, and everybody at the trade shows would talk about this product and how it would work, the other product, and they thought we were the same company.
Yeah, sure. They could just
And
scam.
obviously,
Yeah.
a lot of these people had complaints. And I'd say, would you describe the frame, or would you describe the fabric? And then they would explain what it was like.
Yeah.
I said, that's not mine.
That's not yours, yeah.
I said, mine is a complete metal film. It's not a fabric like you can make a blouse out of.
Now that's really important. That's new material.
Well,
the new materials come out of the research of inventors, and that's what really is most important.
But that's always what happens.
Yeah, but I'm talking about it not in the pecuniary sense, okay? You're talking about the money and making the money and all that. But in the joy and the excitement, it's like creative, like a painter or like a musician or a composer. Somebody comes up with something really creative and new. That's what makes life sort of worth living, rather than just plodding along making money.
It also gets you into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I suppose it does, particularly
If
those
you're
people
working
making the
late
money.
at night to help the client solve a problem, and you get home late at night, what is the wife assuming?
That you're having a dalliance, maybe. But that's if you haven't been leading an honest life.
No, even if
she wouldn't. No, there would be instances where she wouldn't even occur to her that that would happen, because she knew that wouldn't happen, because you're so hard at work doing good things to help humanity, and that's what she knows what you were doing, and you're not one to go out and follow the ladies.
My wife happened to know
Unless
that
you
I
did.
had gorgeous women coming in.
Well, okay.
She also knew that as a French woman, her attitude was, as a French woman, when I would go to Texas or Chicago or wherever with the guys, she would say, do me a favor, enjoy yourself, but don't bother to talk about it.
Oh, well, that's an interesting kind of thing. I think this sort of thing's been going on since Cro-Magnon caves.
Okay.
With the, that kind of thing. But the thing, what
So
I'm trying to say,
I kept my mouth shut because I never would do anything.
it's apart from the fact that the creative process is so important in terms of having what would be called a happy experience. When you get something, when you discover, or you set a theorem or a theory or something, and you go and you try to work it out, and you got an idea, and you're putting, and an inventive mind is such a great state to be in, where you're really trying to figure something out rather than plotting. You're really trying to figure something out, and then by God, it works. I mean, that's really exciting stuff in terms of what would be called a good life, and it seems to me you've been doing a lot of that in your life.
But you can't help it. It's the way each mind is set up.
Well,
if you have a creative, problem-solving mind,
it's a good.
Everything that happens to you, you can visually think of as, well, why don't we do it this way?
Yeah.
And then if you do it,
it's like a gift.
Works,
it's like IQ or something. It's a gift,
It's hell.
It's hell?
Yeah, because
to be creative.
You don't get along with most people.
My daddy used to say, son, it's good to be ahead of your time, but not too far. Do you think it's that? It's a matter of timing? We only let Galileo off the hook, the Catholic Church, about 20 years ago for telling us we weren't the center of the universe, or Pasteur had a hell of a time letting people know there's something called a germ because they couldn't see the damn thing. You know what I'm saying?
Here's where I'm going.
So the great minds are always in that position.
I've got a letter that came from a woman friend about a year ago with a newspaper clip of Bloomberg,
our mayor,
talking about the rooftops of the city buildings.
Big project,
having solar energy on it.
They're going to paint them all white for the start. They can do that for practically nothing.
So she ripped it out and mailed it to me with a note. Right. Jerry, isn't it hot stuff? You're just 25 years ahead of yourself.
That's right, yeah.
Because she knew me 25 years ago when I was younger.
Okay, yeah, right. And you were proposing.
She knew about the solar house.
Well, that's what my daddy said. Not too far ahead. You were too far ahead of your time, And
what I find very interesting is I got the building up. They're claiming.
This is solar house now?
The solar house.
Okay.
I'll probably lose.
Talk a little bit to that.
Oh, I told you off air. I want to talk.
Why off air? Is it patent or something you're protecting, or why off air?
I'm up to my butt in
legal
problems.
Isn't it a pain in the ass?
Well,
the
no,
legal
it's not a
stuff.
pain in the ass to me because they are outright fraudulent and lying, and I've got the documentation, but attorneys don't want to tangle with the city or the state. And so, obviously, the problem is, how do you end up getting somebody to want to do something about what is truth? And we know that government doesn't have an investment in truth.
Well, you think the big corporate guys do?
So I'm refusing to pay the water bill, and I'm refusing to pay the property taxes. They claim I don't even own the house that I'm living in now. Think about what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We get married, we buy a house, it's all in their documents. Microfilm, right? Not the computer, microfilm. I find out 2 years ago from one of them working there who does research, says you're not getting any reduction in your taxes because of your age or your military record because you don't own the building. And I looked at her like I must have been, what did you just say?
What, is it a co-op or something?
No, it's a private house.
Private house? Why, if you haven't got a title, a deed, a title?
Of course I have all that, but I don't
and the mortgage is
have
paid
it.
in? No, but somebody does. I mean, somebody does.
It's all on microfilm. You go through a divorce, you lose papers.
Oh.
You have a flood, you lose papers.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
yeah,
you have a fire, you lose papers.
Yeah.
But you don't lose the microfilm.
Yeah.
And the microfilm which the government has in their file is where I went to get proof. But they say, we don't have microfilm. And I'm saying, what are you talking about? Are you wacky? You've got microfilm. Go to it, and you know that I own the building. You know what their attitude is? I don't give a damn.
Well, I'm sorry. It sounds like a personalized thing that I don't quite understand exactly what the details are.
Of course it's personal.
Yeah, it's a deal.
What else could it be?
Yeah, it's personal and all that, and I'm sorry you got that travail. Life's tough enough without that kind of nonsense going on, but it does happen. I'm sorry to hear that. But they got guaranteed trust. They got you know, I don't know how it's done. My daddy was a lawyer. I wasn't, but I mean, you know, how you got to have some sort of trust. You got to have a deed, or you got to have something, and it's guaranteed.
Did you hear what I said? It's on the microfilm. The deed is on the microfilm.
And they won't call it up.
They don't want to call it up. They say, we don't have that. We only have a computer. It's not on the computer, therefore you don't own the building.
Well, that's serious stuff. You ought to get that into some media thing where it could be done. But it's not like you're running up against a thing where you cannot sue City Hall, or you can't beat City Hall.
Can you sue City Hall?
Can you beat the big guys if they're frauding? Can you do it?
It's absolute fraud. They know it's fraud.
Do you think it's characteristic of our societal organization?
Yes.
Well, that's a very serious charge against the whole organization of the society. A lot of people.
Society
that
is
becomes
corrupt
political.
to start with. The people who aren't corrupt are the rare individuals in society today.
In the society, particularly in the advanced positions within it. Our leaders are by and large corrupt as a matter.
We wouldn't use the word corrupt.
We would use what?
They become biased.
Biased. Okay.
They want to help their friends.
Yeah, right.
And they're too busy to worry about you because you didn't come to me through a friend.
Yeah, right. A vested. It's like sort of, we're like a little bit. It seems to me, I may be wrong, and we're a little bit like serfs on a feudal estate.
Oh, how nice!
You know what I mean? Picking up the leaves for the master.
And I don't want to be picking up.
And it isn't anything like what is a liberated order. We may be coming to that maybe by forced end of necessity.
13, 14, 15 times in newspapers photographed the building. The Commissioner of Energy from the New York State invites me in a letter. Would you care to be my guest and meet me at City Hall with Mayor Koch? I've got document after document, about 14 or 17 loose leaf binders of data I've been pulling out of file and Xeroxing. Bought a computer so I can start scanning all the data.
Can make it work.
So I can start making discs and distribute discs, you know, the CDs. Don't know how to use a computer.
Don't know how to use a computer?
My brain has gone completely dead.
You seriously need a 7-year-old. They all know how to make the... They play them like Vladimir Horowitz plays the piano. Isn't that encouraging? Isn't that encouraging?
Tomorrow I'm going to be 79.
Oh, you're just a kid.
Okay, tomorrow I'm going to be 79.
You're just a kid.
So here I am. as bright as I was in the electronics field in the 30s and the 20s,
do you feel,
when I was 20 and 30,
you feel a little bit lost in the bush?
Now I feel like, what the hell's wrong with me? I can't even concentrate on how to compute it, push this button and push this button.
Oh, brother, you got a lot of company.
Too much
Anybody
on my mind,
that's
so
over got any? Yeah. I know. It's a whole other thing, but it's very encouraging that all the kids know how to do it, and they don't even think about it. Second, it's like learning a language at your mother's knee. It's very encouraging that they can do that.
That they can do it, but
let's not dwell on this. I mean, I'd like to help you in any way to get the word out and everything. And investigative reporters should get behind you on your case and get that done. But let's talk about it at the level of design. The solar house. What was it that you did that made that at the level of creative design? Let's not worry with the lawyers already. There's enough of that in the name of the news. I mean, all we hear is about lawyers and fighting and everything. Well, what about in the creative area of design and something new coming?
The solar energy that I developed went onto my mother's home before I ever got it. I built it, had it manufactured for me, you know, the welding.
Photovoltaic?
No.
No?
It was hot water.
Okay.
But using optics,
I
was able to design a hot water collector that didn't have to trace the sun. Remember I told you about the food cooker that had a trace?
Right.
Well, I designed a unit that is for hot water, and it doesn't track. It uses optics. So it ends up accomplishing the same thing without it mechanically moving.
What does that mean, it uses optics? I don't know what that means. Yeah, reflectors, but it's all, this is using reflectors.
Of one kind.
Pardon?
Of one kind.
Of one kind. There's a different kind.
In the field that I come out of, know of all kinds. So therefore I was able to tap into my knowledge and find out which particular type of design would enable me to end up making a solar food cooker that would track the sun. Did it, built it, put it on my mother's garage roof.
Okay.
Because I figured that on my own building, which was 2 stories high, I fell off the roof.
Well,
and God happened to be good to me that particular incident, and I ended up merely cracking a rib, but I didn't split my skull open, and I was disabled for maybe a couple of months.
Okay.
But I hurt.
Yeah.
But when I started to get more deeply involved with solar energy, I'm saying to myself, if we can make more efficient use of it, we don't have to go on roofs. Therefore, we don't have to have experts that are willing to say, you know what you're paying me for, because I may get killed. So that's why I got to get paid a lot of money to go on your roof, or etc.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea of putting it on a low roof.
Right.
And we designed and built this thing, and in 3 years, I brought a $1,700 heating bill down to $700 to $800.
Really, that's good. That's really a good savings. That could be done, and that could be magnified many times in the old national
for every house.
Yeah.
Every house. So
it could be doing. And here it's coming down gratuitously. The sun brings it down, and we could do it. What's held it up? Why have we been so enthralled to the fossil fuels and so forth? What has held up the march toward utilizing effectively solar energy in all of the dimensions that many people...
I'm going to quote Harry Schatz, who was an administrative law judge, who after 9 to 10 months representing my mother in court, he didn't know who I was, and I didn't tell him I was with the State of New York Energy Department. So I merely argued her case as he allowed me to argue, with documentation and fact. And it got to a point where I so influenced him after around 10 or 11 months that he had his clerk dig into documents, which the next time we were in court, he presented to me and said, your tenacity, your stubbornness, you're just crazy, but you influenced me, that you knew something that I didn't know. Who the hell are you?
Well,
so he invited me into his chambers after he threw the case out.
Now you're still talking about the law stuff, right?
No,
I'm talking about the engineering.
I'm talking about solar energy.
Okay, but enough with the lawyers and stuff.
But you can't help it. You see, I can't talk to you without breathing what you're exhaling.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, we're all in this world together. And law is part of our system.
Yeah. That's what holds. I asked you what held up. Why didn't we start creating good use of solar energy and the other kinds of things?
Because of law.
Because of law,
Now
not because of the economics of energy costs?
I'm going to quote you Harry Schatz.
Okay.
After he had me in his chambers and we sat and we talked around and he found out, you mean you with the State of New York Department of Energy? Why didn't you tell me that 9 months ago?
You're with the State Department of Energy?
I was.
You was. I didn't know that. That didn't get into the story, but okay.
They heard about what I was doing in Brooklyn, and they recruited me. And then they sent me to Albany.
It's like joining the CIA?
Well, I guess the procedure,
OSS, maybe the
procedure
OSS,
was similar.
Yeah, okay.
They were recruiting people that seemed to have knowledge in the field from all over the state.
But they weren't recruiting people who helped them sabotage the whole industry because they have an interest with the coal and oil people.
You
know what I'm saying?
The politician did that.
Or co-opt.
The politician did that.
That's their job. Okay.
The politician's job. And I only will repeat what Harry Schatz said after he realized my background and he then knew of my knowledge. He said, well, I can understand why solar energy hasn't become successful.
Why?
I said, well, what do you mean? He says, you can't make a buck at it. If a guy like you is showing people, even of color, that would visit you, how they can make a solar panel and make hot water and save money. And you were doing it so simply. That's what you were doing, isn't it? I said, well, yeah, we'd close off a street and we'd end up having where you would build equipment on Earth days.
Right. Earth Day is great. Yeah.
We were the guys doing it. We were the guys doing it. So when I go to Earth days as they have today,
John McConnell.
These are children playing games. They don't even have a clue what we were doing then.
Well, okay, so it's not inherent in the economics. It's a conspiracy by the vested interests in a system that should be subsumed, and we should move on. Do you take heart in the fact that we'll be maybe moving into a green world now? There seems to be all kinds of people entrepreneurially thinking green. They've got a computer. They have a computer that can be solar powered. Less than $100 to get to a kid.
Why not?
So do you take heart in the fact that this green thing is starting to manifest or not, or do you think it's just going to be another flash in the pan and we'll all go back to sucking oil?
The word is politically correct.
Correct. Politically, well, it might
Today is green. 25 years ago, it was
green.
Solar.
Oh, solar.
So
they're similar, no? They're similar?
What used to be called recycling is now called going green.
Yeah.
We take a door from one house, we clean it up, and we put it back in the house, and we say, look what we did. We're not wasting a door. We actually sanded it and stripped it, and look how beautiful it is. But my father and my grandfather did that all the time. We didn't just go out and spend money. We would fix the toy. We didn't end up saying, okay, honey, throw it in the garbage. Mommy will go out and buy you another toy.
That's a lot of that going on. We had a little clip. Do you think we ought to try and fit it? We only got about 5 minutes left. Do you have a clip of film you wanted to show? Do you want to try and fit it in, or should we let it go?
Well, he
can. They can set it up and what is it? What is the film? We only got about 5 minutes left.
It's of the solar house.
It's just a couple of minutes, right?
No, what I want to do is to finish the story.
Okay, do it quickly. That's 5 minutes total. That's all.
When Harry Schatz went and said, the reasons why solar won't move forward, because if the government can't make a buck at it, then they don't want to be involved. Well, here's how they're making a buck. Everybody that puts solar equipment on their home.
They're showing the film now.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a narrative with the film?
This is the solar house. It's a typical old house. And we started to rebuild it back in 79 and 80. And people were coming and visiting. Because the house was open on every Sunday of the week. And so it was the solar house for Sundays. And people would come and visit, and we would describe to them what was on display, which corporations were involved. And I had about 130 corporations that helped sponsor what we were doing.
Did you get that all videotaped and out as a promo piece and let people know and get your PR going and everything when you were doing that? Or how did you do on that front?
When we had the people do that video,
Yeah.
the purpose was just to document that moment, but
Yeah.
we never used it in any way to promote.
Do you think the reason the solar energy and the things you've been doing is that they were just not very good when it comes to PR and selling their product, and just they were just not able to?
If I didn't do a good
we
job,
haven't got battery power like we should have, and so forth, and that it wouldn't work economically as long as you had low cost
I've
fossil
got over
fuel.
$2,000 worth of battery in the building
In the solar
to
house.
be charged by the photovoltaics.
Do we need new breakthroughs in battery technology for transportation? Do we need new breakthroughs in order to make the solar green thing go, other than just depending on fossil fuel, do you think?
I think in our society, the way it's set up, that it constantly has to be destroying something so somebody can come along and say, I have resurrected it, or I've got a better mousetrap. That's our society.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we had the towers come down,
Yeah.
and we had the president of the country saying, don't be sad, go out to the restaurants, go out to the movies.
Well, they got to keep the demand going, because the most thing, we're all serfs on a feudal estate. The most important thing we can do is buy stuff and eat. I mean, as a consumer, to make the demand side of the economic system work. That's the only. So we're just consumers, more or less. But you are a doer.
We
well,
are
we are perhaps
brainwashed
so.
by
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Do you think we need a whole new economic philosophy for the way we organize the society? That would be incorporating that, and maybe the green thing is bringing us to where we're going to be confronted with that, whether we like it or not.
I think you're going to have a process. It's going to just work its way through to a point where something will come along, and it'll be something else that we'll be talking about on television.
Other than what we're talking about now? We're talking about energy, solar energy, green.
Well, what else
will
are we
be
talking
about 5 years
from now?
from
What were we talking about 3 weeks ago?
Well, I don't even remember. I can't keep up. The news.
You had the Wall Street fiasco.
Well, that's still going on. Mr. Madoff.
But before that, what did we have? We had Enron.
Then we had Enron. That's some time ago. Yeah, that's.
But big deal.
If it bleeds, it leads in the news, and it's all news and it's all politics.
Everything is evolutionary.
Yeah. Are you optimistic? Are you optimistic for the human prospect? We have weapon systems that are now species lethal, apparently. And we've been hitting,
Did anybody ever tell you that they were taking the atomic waste from the nuclear plants and they were using it and putting it into the bunker bombs that they were dropping in Iraq?
Well, that's depleted uranium. And then they're also dropping it off Somalia, I hear.
But
they were dropping tons of it.
But how many people know that that's how clever we were, that we were incorporating the waste into the bomb and made the bomb better? And that's okay. But we're leaving all of that waste in another nation, and these people are going to be radiated from it.
Yeah, that's right. And they're also going to be revolting.
So you had Orange, was it Agent Orange?
Yeah.
And that was okay.
Awful in Vietnam. It wasn't okay with me.
But wasn't it okay?
Yeah. No, it was not okay.
We were going to deforest the nation.
Yeah, I know. We had to get the
all
Viet Cong.
these people are now with their babies and their grandchildren.
We're running right out of time. Are you optimistic for the human prospect?
No.
You're not?
No.
It's very bad to be pessimistic in the max, because we have weapons that could wipe out the whole species now.
I don't think we are brainy. We're not smart enough to know how to end up
Well,
making
you're
people
smart
happy.
enough. I'm sorry you couldn't have been perhaps more influential, but you may yet. You may emerge like a phoenix. You may come, because you were a pioneer in the solar thing, and you got a lot of camaraderie coming out of the solar movement that's coming now, the green movement.
I offered the house to Pratt University so that they